Welcome back to Leading Edge. Good to have you along. And I am joined by the president of the Toledo Police Patrolmen's Association, Officer Michael Haynes. Now, here's the deal, folks. As I was watching coverage of what's going on in our country, and I do for probably too many hours every day of the week, I turned to my wife recently and I said, you know what? You could not pay me enough to be a police officer right now. I mean, even as police brutality makes my skin crawl, and we're all sick about the images we saw out of Minneapolis, I'm still believing, until proven otherwise, that the vast majority of police officers are there to protect and to serve. But hey, now under the microscope, seemingly being blamed for, I don't know, all of society's ills. Officer, how is morale in the Toledo Police Department?
Well, I can tell you currently that morale is not the highest. It's pretty low. As of right now, we're not really getting good backing from citizens, clearly. We're not getting good backing from politicians, clearly. And I don't know necessarily that it's because of anything other than politics. I understand that there was a bad incident, but it just seems like we're all kind of getting our feet held to the fire for a bad incident.
Have you had anybody walk? Have you had anybody say, I'm near retirement, I'm just going to walk, I don't need this noise? Have you had any of that yet?
Yes. I mean, they're not saying that specifically, but you can infer that you know these officers personally, which I do, and someone that would normally stay a little longer has just been fed up.
When a police officer looks at George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis, what does he or she see and feel?
Every officer resonates the same thought process that I have, and it's absolutely a tragedy. You can see that it was wrong. There's so many, it's just like when you watch a TV show in your profession, whatever profession it is, and you go, that's not right. Yeah. That's not right. Every one of us did the exact same thing and said, what is happening? What is going on? That's not right.
Chief Crawl on my show just a couple of weeks ago, I said, what was wrong with the Minneapolis stuff? And he said, what was wrong? Everything, in his word. It is, after all, the bad apples, we hope they're rare, that give good officers a bad name. Yet that blue line that we hear about, we're told keeps one officer from outing another who's done wrong, and it's the police unions who keep the whole thing under wraps. I'm sure you've heard this. I'm going to ask you, has the TPPA ever backed, have you ever not backed an officer accused of wrongdoing?
We always follow the rules of due process. Everyone, even a murderer, is allowed their due process.
Right.
That still goes to the point that we follow just the due process. If there's nothing to be said or nothing to be had, it is what it is. It speaks for itself, especially with body cameras and stuff nowadays. There is no other way than what you see. And we don't go out of our way to back a bad officer. We just make sure that the process itself is followed, as would anybody else, as in like reading the rights and making sure that the questions are asked appropriately. They're given a due time to see the evidence brought against them.
Your point is, correctly taken, you guys go out and pick up the criminals, and yet even a murderer has due process. Well, Michael, look out, because here come the politicians in an election year, untrained in policing. They are now going to tell you guys how to operate. Is that a cause for concern?
It's a cause for concern to this point. And to this point, as when we start making and passing laws or policies that they don't know anything about. So as long as there can be some sort of communication amongst the two parties, i.e. police and city council, if you will, so we can understand each other and fashion whatever policy or law that they want to fashion or pass, it's adjudicated evenly on both sides, or at least they understand what they are saying and doing. And as a matter of fact, just last night, we've had a very good discussion with city council about that in order to maybe pump the brakes a little and not just have a knee-jerk reaction and get to understand each other before we just make things happen.
So you do have a seat at the table?
It appears that as of very recently, we have been offered a seat at the table, yes.
You need to have a seat at the table. You guys go out and do this day in and day out. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm not apologizing. And that guy in Minneapolis, I have words for that I can't say on television. But chasing these guys, people like Michael Haynes, around for a better part of 40 years, these guys run toward trouble, and they take a bullet for you, and they don't ask what your color is going in. Just a matter of how can we avoid this kind of thing in the future. I need to take a break. Michael Haynes, President, TPPA. Can you hang?
Yes, sir.
Be right back. This is Leading Edge.